what is remaining of WrestleMania weekend? It looks like a stick of dynamite has been sent to several cards and the aftermath. So this started this afternoon when it was noted by PWInsider.com that Moose was being removed from the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling show. And he had not officially been announced for the Maple Leaf show, but it was expected he would probably be in a match involving AEW performers. And so Moose is off of that show. Then this extended. So let's just cover here on the Moose front, because this is kind of like secondary after the subsequent stories. But Mike Johnson reported that Moose was pulled from their show, which is taking place April 18th, after initially approving his appearance and before Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling officially announced him. It was likely that Moose would have been in the ring with talents from another promotion such as AEW. So fast forward, and of course, the match that everyone has been focusing on outside of a WWE setting was the big announcement last week that Ricochet would be taking on Leon Slater. And as we had noted, like this was, I know that there are examples of like AEW and TNA matches. It was brought up like House of Glory does book these, but this did take a lot of sign off from all sides for this, and I think that's the part that people can be a little bit upset over, is the fact that this was approved. This was not a case of like this graphic dropped and any of these companies with ties to Ricochet or Leon Slater, WWE included, were like surprised by this. So now this match is off. And, there had been talk throughout the afternoon of whether this was going to stay or not. It does appear that, that WWE is somewhat, clamping down here. And then TNA was essentially being put out there to be the bad guy in all of this. And then TNA put out a statement to multiple sites that, quote, TNA wrestlers were pulled due to partner conflicts. And my understanding is that WrestleCon, they were trying to preserve this match. I believe that they had some communication tonight with Carlos Silva, and that pretty much ixnayed this match. And then WrestleCon shortly thereafter put out a statement that, despite being previously cleared by all parties and respective management, Leon Slater has been pulled from this match 1 week prior to our memorial event. We will have more to say at a later time, but we wanted to be immediately transparent to all fans. Now, if that wasn't enough, there is also a match that was coming up on May 1st with MJF and Nick Nemeth that they've been promoting over the last couple of weeks with Create a Pro, which of course MJF has ties with. So tonight, Brian Myers announced that match is off on May 1st, and instead MJF will now host an open challenge on that show. Nick Nemeth will instead face Bear Bronson. And Myers is obviously in a very difficult position because he works at TNA and is promoting his Create a Pro show on May the 1st. MJF doesn't exactly have that same conflict and pretty much just excoriated TNA and Carlos Silva for this move with this tweet, which did precede the video that came out from Brian Myers officially stating that the match was off. So there you go, folks. Independent contractors in 2026 in professional wrestling.
Quite the interesting story, and one that, for me, the effect of this is that I think TNA has actually been doing really well. I feel like they're coming off of like a very positive, I would say, like, momentum in the news cycle stemming off of their handling of that Steve Macklin injury. But this is unfortunately one of those things that kind of makes them look like the bad guy in all of this. And are you suggesting that are there reports that this is coming as part of a higher direction?
I mean, that's exactly what TNA stated here, due to partner conflicts. I mean, what other way do you read that?
Okay. Well, do we know that it's WWE, or could the conflict just be TNA and AEW? Which, yes, of course, would raise some flags because it wasn't an issue prior to this. How much of this is could possibly be due to TNA running Thursday head-to-head last week with Impact?
With Collision? I mean, that's, to me, this is not TNA that is just making this decision independent of WWE. And they're flat out saying, like, partner conflicts. Their partner is WWE here. Like, that wasn't even an AEW decision to run on Thursday. More like, that is just, to me, like, they may feel that way, but that is outside of the control of AEW. But when this went down, like this was a very difficult match to put together between Leon Slater and Ricochet. But like TNA agreed to this match. In fact, what I was told by one person was that TNA was the first to agree to this match. And then they were able to get Ricochet and AEW on board, and the match happened. Obviously, that's a finish that you have to be, cognizant of these politics that are going to be at play between these two companies, but it could have been done. So, I mean, it certainly opens up the door now of like how, like there are some matches taking place Mania weekend where it's WWE ID talents taking on AEW performers. Are those going to be at risk? Are companies like a House of Glory that they have done matches involving, like last week at Winnipeg Pro Wrestling, you had Jody Threat and Mercedes Moné wrestling, and Jody Threat going over. So how widespread is this going to be? Is this central to the fact that it's two of your higher profile AEW talents in MJF and Ricochet? Or is this just a sweeping decision that TNA talents are now going to be much more limited in matches that they can be booked, which really the ones that are harmed the most here are your TNA talents that like are not necessarily relying on working for TNA as their sole way of earning a living in this business. And if you can't wrestle AEW performers, for instance, like it does take some of your, like that's a liability. It's a handicap when booking you. If you are a TNA talent, I want to put you in the most attractive matches possible. And when you see stuff like this, where we make a match and then the promoter's going to pull it, do I want to enter into that potential headache? And, it's unfortunate here for WrestleCon and Create a Pro, who have garnered some buzz for these matches, and now they have to pull them away. I think fans are understanding, but it still sucks for you, the fan. I would say that Slater Ricochet match was one of the most anticipated of that whole week in Vegas.
Yeah. So again, out of all of this, I'm just curious, like who gets the blame from the audience? I think it's WWE, but TNA will. Again, the problem is in the fact that if this was going to be a problem, then they should have said this before this was announced. And this would have been no. Maybe it wasn't a problem before.
It wasn't a problem before, and they announced it. So, like, obviously, they don't feel any need to uphold their agreement. But these parties all entered this willingly and entered an agreement. WrestleCon doesn't have any legal recourse here, but they all agreed to this. And now they're pulling half of the match away. And that really sucks because you agreed to this.
And does this mean, even multi-person matches, or for instance, maybe a battle royal that might involve multiple wrestlers from various promotions interacting with that constitute some sort of conflict as well? It also, again, if we are following the sort of idea that WWE is, the ones who are demanding this thing, it again further tells you what influence they have over TNA wrestling, if that is the case.
I think that's pretty clear at this point. And if this is just going to go in waves, if this is going to be hardline, it's certainly going to be a hardline for the immediate future based on these very semi-high profile matches, especially at an independent level that are coming up. So, I just wanted to add this statement that Rob Bahari, who works at WrestleCon, also put out. This was just before the match was canceled, but it was already looking in dire situations. He said, so he had first given an update that as of now, the match wasn't off, but he adds that we are fully aware of our role in the wrestling ecosystem. We run our little show now in honor of our friend, referring to Mark Hitchcock, once a year. We can't win any political fight. Just announcing the match opened us up to ridicule if it fell through. So we didn't jump the gun until promises were made. We're hoping those promises will be kept and we can deliver the main event, which obviously fell apart. So yeah, that's kind of their part. And then they got that out right away tonight on the WrestleCon account, just stating what the status is of that match, which is now off. I will say this is my final point on this, is that Tony Khan is in a position right now where he doesn't owe this show anything. He was already, he provided Ricochet. He does feel like someone that is in a certain strategy right now of gaining good PR. He could score a lot of points here and provide a replacement and put together a big match with Ricochet on this show. And I think he has an opportunity to, it's a Like the goalie has been pulled and you can just fire a slap shot and score here with a really loyal or with a hardcore wrestling audience over WrestleMania weekend and provide them with a big AEW replacement to face Ricochet on that Hitchcock show.
Sure. What sort of talent, what sort of level of talent do you think would achieve that?
This will sound ridiculous, and this certainly is totally weighted towards WrestleCon. But if I wanted to just project my company as like the ultimate good guys that are going to be serving the wrestling fan when another company is taking this match away, it doesn't have to be like an insanely dangerous match. But you do Ricochet and Will Ospreay, and they go out. You can do a perfectly like safe Ricochet Ospreay match that is just doing all the hits with those two. That would tear the house down. I think it would win you so much great will for that weekend. It's WrestleCon able to over deliver with a replacement. And I think there's something to gain if you are Tony Khan and just his strategy at this point of presenting AEW as fan first and not letting wrestling politics get in the way of something. I would seriously like consider that.
Sure,
That would be
Ospreay
a huge match. I think Ospreay would be willing to do it. And there's no real, like, that's a match you could do cold. It's not something you're going to be getting to anytime soon in AEW.
You've already done it twice in AEW, so you don't even have to be so precious about it.
Yeah, like they can just go out there and they don't have to do a pay-per-view level match. Like it's just going to be like the environment would be insane. It would be a super big highlight. It's been long enough since they've done a match like that. I think Ospreay just coming back, it seems like he's really eager to be pushing himself at this moment. And I would look at that. Like, I don't think it's just one-sided that it's just great gain for WrestleCon. I think Tony Khan would have something to gain from doing something like that.
In the event of these sort of last minute changes, you as a promoter always want to provide something that's maybe even better than what was announced before. And certainly a level of talent like a Will Ospreay, I'm sure would more than satisfy the people who already paid for a ticket and was expecting that sort of main event. Talents on the level of a Konosuke Takeshita or basically any of the top mix,
Well, that's the other thing. It's like in absence of an Ospreay, like there's certainly no absence of great options you would have. Again, it would be if AEW was incentivized, and AEW, like from our understanding, like they had nothing to do with any of this. Like they had agreed to this match. They're not pulling their talent. It's not like they are not obligated to do anything here, but it would be a chance that I think you would score some points with with fans that weekend. It is WrestleMania month at postwrestling.com. Wei Ting and John Pollock go live all WrestleMania week beginning Monday, April the 13th. Sign up for the Post Wrestling Cafe and you will get live shows all week long leading into our coverage that weekend of WrestleMania 42. This month, we're also bringing you reviews of Spring Break 2 from New Orleans in 2018 and a special Patrons Pick edition of Rewind Away. Sign up now at postwrestlingcafe.com, and this month, new subscribers get 50% off for the first month. Head on over to postwrestlingcafe.com.